Hi, so in my last video I showed you around in the Power Virtual Agent, and one of the things I was missing within that new tool was a connection to QnA Maker. But since we can connect to flow tasks, Power Automate flows, there is a way to still combine a Power Virtual Agent with QnA Maker. And that's what I want to show today. Just writing it down in a blog post would be, well, not so easy to do, so that's why I have this video. So the first thing we will do is we'll go to powerva.microsoft.com. You click on sign in and then you get on this portal. From here onwards we will create a new bot. We will call it the QnA demo bot. And create, just give it a couple of seconds, it goes quite fast. Okay, here it is. So from here onwards, as discussed the other time, we have topics that can be called. You can create new topics, and a topic can be triggered through some phrases. Some basic topics are already loaded, but we want to add a new topic. We'll call it call QnA, and we'll say it as a trigger phrase. For example, I have a question, or can you help me please? Okay, so from there onwards we will go to the authoring canvas, which will give us the opportunity to create flows. I'll close this test. Just need to let it load a bit. All right, so what we have here is the start of our conversation. Someone is asking for help, and then the bot can say something, but we will remove this option. We want to start with immediately asking a question. What do you want to know? And we will identify it as user's entire response, because we want to get the whole question that he's sending to the bot as input that we can send to the QnA Maker. So we will save the response into a variable. We'll call it var question, variable question, done. So from here onwards, we will need to start connecting to our QnA Maker. So in the meantime, I will show you also how you can do that. So we go to the portal. I have a resource group already made. I will add a new resource, QnA Maker. You can just look it up into the marketplace. We create it, call it QnA Maker demo Power VA. This will not work. Okay, pricing tier, we'll just put it on the free one. Same for Azure Search. We'll put our location a bit closer to where I live. West Europe. And for now, we'll just disable app inside. It's not necessary to create this resource for this demo. So it's validating the creation of the QnA Maker resource, which will create an application app service plan. So basically, you could say your server, your web server, it will create an app service where your QnA Maker API will run on. It will create an Azure Search where all the questions and answers will be stored in. And of course, it will create an index on it, even too. But it's not the purpose of this demo to go through the details of cognitives, the QnA Maker. what is still on my plan to do. So we'll just have a wait a little bit for the deployment to finish. Okay, so all the resources are created, deployment is completed. You can go to the resource. And as you will notice, we have now an endpoint that we will use. So next step is to add some data into a QnA Maker and create a knowledge base, of course. So QnA Maker.ai. We sign in. We choose our tenant and we have a new service that we just created. We can say create a knowledge base. So need to select these items again. We say in which language our knowledge base is, which is English. You see a different types of languages here. You have chit chat and extraction available and only extraction available. So with these ones, you have the possibility, well, the possibility it's included into QnA Maker that it can respond on chit chat, where for these languages it's not. So English, name your QnA demo VA. We'll not add any data at the moment. We'll create our knowledge base. So what you could do is like connect your QnA Maker to an FAQ web page, and it will extract automatically all your questions and answers, even do it in multi-turn questions. So we'll add just 2 questions. Who is the CEO of Microsoft? We'll add this answer. That is Satya Nadella. And we'll add another Q&A. What does AI stand for? AI is an abbreviation for artificial intelligence. Okay, that's it. We say save and train. Shouldn't take long since it's only 2 questions, and then we can publish. Publish to our environment, and here it is. So we need to keep in mind that we need these details later on. So what we see here is the full endpoint of the QnA Maker. So we have our app service plus the API that we call, where we select the knowledge base that we will talk to, and we want to generate an answer. We have an endpoint key, and the body of the request, which is a post request, needs to be question, and then the question that we got from the user. So we have this. We'll go back to our Power Virtual Agent, where as a next step we will add an action, call an action, where you will already see call QnA Maker. These are the ones I've tried before, but I want to make a new one. So what will we do? We go to Power Automate, go to flows, and we say new instant from blank, QnA demo VA, and we will trigger the flow when there's an HTTP request. So the first thing we need to do is generate the request body. How will it look like? And it's quite easy to generate from a sample. So what we'll do is we want to have only one variable question, this is a question. Okay, done. So it generates now the schema for the body that we will send to the flow task, which is one property question, which is of type string. Now, the next task within the Power Automate flow is to call the QnA Maker. So we'll do an HTTP request where the method is post or URI can be copied from the QnA Maker is this plus this part, and then as headers we have authorization to with this endpoint key, that's this, and we have content type is application JSON. And as body, we'll just copy this part to be sure about it. And we'll remove this part and add the variable question that we received from our incoming request. So with this part, we will just send the question to the QnA Maker. We will get a response, and that response we need to parse. So we'll add another item, parse JSON, where the content will be the body of the HTTP request. Okay, if you want to generate the schema again, it's quite easy to do this HTTP request in a tool like Postman, and then use generate from sample to create it. What I did though is cleaned up the schema because there's a bunch of items that I don't really need. So the only data I need for this flow is the properties answer and score, which belongs to an object answer, which isn't. So it returns an array of different answers with all a different score. The first answer will always be the answer with the highest score. But since we only want to reply with the top one, we will add a new step now, response. And again here we will say headers content type application /JSON, and we'll paste in our body. I'll just give you a look of what is done in the code, especially this part. So the body, what we generate is answer is the parsing of the HTTP request, where we get the element answers out of it, which is the array that we return. We get the first one, so the 0 index, and from that one we will get the variable answer, and we do exactly the same for score. The good thing about QnA Maker is that although it doesn't find an answer, it will still reply with at least one answer, which will say I can't find an answer, and the score will be 0. So this is the work we need to do in Power Automate. We'll save it. Saved. And one important part you need to do before it's visible within Power Virtual Agent is to add your flow into a solution. So I have a solution with already one item in, but we'll just add the one we just created at the existing flow. Outside solution, so this is a new one. Click add. All right, here it is. So we can go back to Power Virtual Agent, and here we will call our action that we just created, QnA demo VA, which looks, it has an issue. So what I forgot to add is a schema answer. This is an answer score. Okay. So just remove it again. Call an action. And that looks better. One input, two outputs. So we have the variable, that question that we'll add, and then Power Automate will return us with an answer and a score, where we only want the answer to be shown when the score is higher than 70%. So what we will do is add a condition where we'll say the score is greater than 70. If so, show a message and the bot will give the answer. And from there on, you could ask, for example, another question. Do you want to ask another question? I'll give them a multiple choice option, yes or no. We'll give it for another question. And we'll do another condition from here on. So if it's yes, we want to send it back to our question part. So just we'll say show a message for the moment, because we need this dot, and we go to the upper part, which is not so easy to do. Doesn't slide so easy. All right, and we want to connect it to this part. Now, the message box we added to link it to this one got sent to the top. We can just delete this one. Let's go back to the bottom. If the user says no, we'll add it to end to conversation. You can end it with a survey, it doesn't matter. You can also just remove it and don't do anything at all. Now, let's go back up in case of any other conditions. So if it's less than 70%, we want the bot to say, I can't help you with that question. Please try to formulate the question again. We'll add, again, show a message. We'll not do anything with it. What we want to do is link it back also to the beginning of our flow where we ask, what do you want to know? Delete. And that should be it. So let's see if it all works. We'll save our dialog. We test our chatbot. We'll start with asking the question. I have a question. We'll notice that this topic is triggered and it goes to the question part. So what do you want to know? Who is the CEO of Microsoft? And you'll notice we get quite quickly an answer. So let's ask another question. What do you want to know? It goes back to the part we were. What are butterflies? A question that is totally not in the system. And it's also telling us, okay, I can't help you with the question. Please try to formulate the question again, please. So what do you want to know? Let's go back to the other question. What does AI stand for? And we get an answer. And we can say, no, it's not asking another question. These are some basics things. So this is the end of conversation part where it's asking about feedback. So did I answer your question? Yes. Let's say I'm quite happy about the response. No, thank you. So these are all certain parts that are already built in. I hope this gives you an overview of how QnA Maker can be connected within Power Virtual Agents. Although it's not a basic feature, it's quite easy to do so. So I hope this was useful for you and hope to see you watching my next video also.